It was a dark and stormy night in the small town of Fangoria. The rain was pelting down like bullets on the roof of the old abandoned mansion at the edge of town. A group of friends had dared each other to spend the night in the mansion, but little did they know, they were not alone. As they settled in for the night, they heard strange noises coming from the basement. One of them, a brave young woman named Sarah, decided to investigate. She made her way down the creaky stairs and found herself in a damp, dark room. As she fumbled for a light switch, she felt a cold, bony hand grab her shoulder. She turned around to face a terrifying sight: a vampire. The vampire bared his fangs and lunged at her. Sarah screamed and ran back up the stairs, but the vampire was hot on her heels. The other friends, hearing Sarah's screams, rushed to her aid. They found her in the hallway, pale and trembling. The vampire was nowhere to be seen. They decided to stick together and explore the mansion, hoping to find a way out. But as they wandered deeper into the mansion, they realized they were trapped. The doors and windows were all locked from the outside. They were prisoners in the vampire's lair. As the night wore on, they heard strange noises coming from every corner of the mansion. They knew they were being stalked by the vampire and his minions. They tried to fight back, using whatever weapons they could find: wooden stakes, holy water, and silver crosses. But it was no use. The vampire was too powerful. One by one, the friends were taken down by the vampire and his minions. Their blood was drained from their bodies until they were nothing but lifeless husks. The vampire was preparing for a grand feast, a blood feast of epic proportions. Finally, only Sarah was left. She hid in a closet, praying for the dawn to come. But the vampire found her, and she knew her time had come. She closed her eyes and waited for the inevitable. But instead of biting her, the vampire spoke to her. "You have proven yourself worthy, Sarah," he said. "You have fought bravely, and for that, I spare your life. But you must swear never to speak of what you have seen here tonight. If you do, I will find you, and you will suffer a fate worse than death." Sarah nodded, too terrified to speak. The vampire disappeared into the shadows, leaving Sarah alone in the mansion. She emerged from the closet and made her way outside, vowing never to return to Fangoria again. Years later, Sarah still wakes up in the middle of the night, haunted by the memories of that fateful night. She knows that the vampire is still out there, watching and waiting for her to slip up. She will never forget the blood feast of Fangoria, and she will never speak of it to anyone, not even her closest friends. After leaving the mansion, Sarah tried to forget what happened that night, but the memories haunted her every waking moment. She tried to convince herself that it was just a nightmare, but the scars on her neck told a different story. Years went by, and Sarah tried to move on with her life, but she could never shake the feeling that the vampire was still out there, watching her every move. She began to suffer from terrible nightmares and sleepless nights, reliving the horror of that night over and over again. One day, she received a strange package in the mail. It was a small wooden box, with no return address. When she opened it, she found a note and a silver crucifix inside. The note read, "We have been watching you, Sarah. We know what you saw that night, and we need your help. The vampire is planning something big, and we need your knowledge to stop him. Meet us at the abandoned church on the outskirts of town tonight at midnight." Sarah was torn. She didn't want to relive the horror of that night, but she also knew that she had to face her fears and do whatever it took to stop the vampire. At midnight, Sarah made her way to the abandoned church. It was dark and deserted, with no signs of life. She felt a cold shiver run down her spine as she approached the entrance. As she stepped inside, she was met by a group of vampire hunters. They were armed to the teeth, with wooden stakes, silver crosses, and holy water. They told her about their mission to stop the vampire from unleashing a bloodbath on the town of Fangoria. The vampire had been living in the abandoned mansion for decades, preying on unsuspecting victims who wandered too close. But now, he had grown stronger and more dangerous than ever before. He had amassed an army of vampires, and he was planning to unleash them on the town of Fangoria, turning it into a haven for the undead. Sarah knew that she had to help them, but she was terrified. She had never faced a vampire before, let alone an army of them. But she also knew that she couldn't let the vampire win. She had to face her fears and fight back. The group of vampire hunters led her to the basement of the church, where they had set up a makeshift laboratory. They showed her the weapons they had prepared, including a serum that could neutralize the vampire's powers. They explained the plan. They would sneak into the mansion and inject the serum into the vampire's bloodstream. Once he was weakened, they would use their weapons to take him down. Sarah was nervous, but she knew that she had to do her part. She picked up a wooden stake and joined the group as they made their way to the mansion. As they approached the mansion, they saw the vampire's army of minions waiting for them. The battle began, with the vampire hunters using their weapons to take down the minions one by one. Sarah felt a surge of adrenaline as she plunged her wooden stake into the heart of a vampire. She had never felt so alive, even as she faced death at every turn. Finally, they reached the vampire's lair. The vampire was waiting for them, surrounded by his army of minions. He laughed as they approached, confident in his invincibility. But the vampire hunters were ready. They injected the serum into the vampire's bloodstream, and he began to weaken. They used their weapons to weaken him further, until finally, he lay still on the ground. The battle was over, and Fangoria was safe once again. Sarah felt a sense of relief wash over her, but she also knew that she could never forget what happened that night. She had faced her fears and helped to stop the vampire, but she also knew that there would always be more monsters out there, waiting to be defeated. The group of vampire hunters congratulated Sarah on her bravery and thanked her for her help. They told her that they would continue to fight against the forces of darkness, to protect the people of Fangoria from the creatures that lurked in the shadows. As Sarah made her way back home, she felt a newfound sense of strength and courage. She knew that she had faced her fears and triumphed over evil, and that nothing could ever take that away from her. From that day forward, Sarah dedicated her life to helping those in need and fighting against the forces of darkness. She became a respected member of the vampire hunting community, and her name became synonymous with courage and bravery. And although she knew that the memory of that fateful night would always haunt her, she also knew that she had the power to overcome any obstacle, no matter how terrifying or daunting. As the story comes to an end, we hope that you enjoyed this chilling tale of vampires and the fight against evil. We thank Stephen King for sharing his incredible talent with us, and we hope that this story kept you on the edge of your seat. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more thrilling tales and spine-tingling adventures. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. And remember, whether you're fighting against vampires or battling your own fears, courage and bravery are always within reach. So don't be afraid to face your fears and stand up to the monsters that lurk in the darkness. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.